what I want to do now, it's actually kind of connect to you. And I got so excited about this topic, but then I'm like, we're going to see if I'm going to be excited at the end, or you're going to be excited at the end. But what we talked about, how to know, it's like transformational knowledge of God and self. I really want to be very practical, even though then I was, I think, practical. But really who you are, it really affects how you counsel. And your personality, your spirituality, your background, your family story, your narrative, that really, really. And I'm going to actually start everything with a painting. The storm, Jesus in a storm, that's the narrative here. And it's the story, and it's a Rembrandt's painting. Okay, a fun fact, that it was stolen and nobody knows where it is. But it is the picture of Jesus and disciples in a boat. And it's very interesting that there's more light to the side where there's actually the seas are really chaotic. And it seems kind of peaceful. And also what is surprising, in the corner when there's dark, you can just Google on your phone if you want, if you don't see this very well, Jesus in a storm painting. And this is probably going to come out. But in the darkness, that's where Jesus is. I mean, his face is a little light. And actually what I would love you to take a few seconds and see, where will you be? Which one of these in a painting is you? When it comes to chaos in life, when there's a storm, what are you doing? The interesting fact about this painting, there are no 12 disciples. There are 13. So the painter put himself on a boat too. And you cannot really see, but there's some really working really hard. And you know the story when he's going to say, they're going to wake him up, he's asleep. And they're not going to wake him up and say, Jesus, we're afraid, can you help us? No, they're going to say, don't you care? Did we perish here? And it's a very, very powerful moment, even if you're a pastor, if you're doing counseling. I do this with counselors, and we go through the whole story. In a storm, where is Jesus? In your boat, when you're in a chaos, what are you doing? And you cannot really see, but there is, it's too bad, you cannot see, but there is one disciple, there's somebody totally throwing up over there. There's like a red figure right here. I don't even know this. Like this guy is totally throwing up. This one is not even looking at anybody. He's just quiet there, Like kind of like in life, we all have our little roles. Every one of us is different. When there's a storm, how do you respond? How does your spouse respond? So you can see that somebody, the person praying, somebody vomiting, somebody waking up Jesus. If you would wake up Jesus in the middle of the storm, your storm, how do you wake him up? What do you tell him? Where are you? So I want you to remember that now when we keep going. And I am totally doing some things I'm going to repeat that we already talked about. But what I wanted to tell you is this is how you counsel. So Zsuzsa, what you missed is where are you in the storm of Jesus? But this is depending. If somebody comes to you with their difficulty, do you pray? Do you say, oh, Jesus, what do I do right now with this person? And you do referral. Or you are, oh my gosh, or you are like trying so hard to keep that boat and thinking, like very often in life that I'm totally like very open book. I am this guy with a blue shirt that is trying so hard, and I am angry at half of the people in the boat because they're not working their butt off. And very often not even thinking to wake up Jesus. I'm saying, Jesus gave me these hands, I should use them. And all of you that are doing nothing, you better jump in and help me with something. But what I want to tell you, that the way we approach the storm, it is also the way we counsel. Somebody's going to talk to you and tell you a lot of things, and you're going to think, oh, you better try this, you better try this, this is what you should do, you should really fix the boat. Somebody's gonna say, I don't have a clue what you should do, you should go somewhere else. Someone's gonna say, Jesus really helped me here. So it's like we all have different personalities, and that really even affects how we counsel. So we don't really have a whole lot of time, but on a piece of paper, if you can just draw what are some of the roles that you currently hold in your life. I'm giving you, seriously, 20 seconds here. If this is your life, what are you? A mom, sister, daughter, friend. What are the roles? I'm a director of a nonprofit. I'm director of this. I do counseling. So what are some of the roles that you have? So this is always the story of one. And I'm not going to, I would love also you to think of it, how did you get your name? We're going to come back to this and to the storm. But how did your story start? Did your parents wanted you? Were they hoping, happy that you're going to come? How did your story start? This is always, what is the story behind your name? Whose name do you carry? Sometimes these are the questions that I even ask somebody that comes to me. Certainly I don't do only 3 therapies, and certainly I don't do 1 therapy. So if I have time for all of this, I ask this, how did your story begin? Tell me. And we all have a story. We all are okay with our name. We're not okay with our name. We love our name. We love the meaning of our name. And the reason I'm asking you all of this, because again, we approach, depending where we are, we approach the person that sits across from us, if we want it or not. We could be a very good professional and keep that all wrapped up in there. But they are, the things, even when Jerry Root was telling us, there are things in a movie that trigger us and don't trigger the others. There's something that really draws us in a story. So how did your story begin? But this is something, I don't know if you had time, I did give you, and how many of you were able, okay, you don't have to raise your hand, I don't want to, if you did the Enneagram test. I hope you did, because it really, and you can go back to it, but it can be a very helpful tool. They even have an Enneagram for children. But it's a very helpful tool. Even if I know from which ego state I communicate. And all of this, I just gave you 2 tools. And actually, this could also be a very helpful tool. So what are the hats that you are wearing? What are the, and sometimes what I connect this with, and let's say, I'm a director of a nonprofit. Okay, I'm gonna put Hana's Hope. I'm a daughter, so there is, okay, Romaniophilia. I'm a mother. What will I write here? I'm still a student. Well, sort of, not really, maybe. I'm a teacher, so what are the roles that I have? I'm a wife. Oh, Greg, I totally forgot about you. Okay, so, just laugh. I forgot I'm a wife. Okay, but look at this. What are your roles? Director of Hana's Hope, that's adult. There's a child here. There's a child. I'm a mom. That's a parent/adult. I'm a teacher. That's adult. I'm a wife. That's adult. So sometimes even just when you draw this, it's really good if you do have. But okay, this is very vivid to me. I'm taking care of my parents. So I'm not even a child there. I'm a parent there. So then, even if you're doing counseling, saying, when are you a child? Where is Jelena that loves to laugh, loves to, is free, that dreams, that hopes, that feels? Do you remember that, TA? The child is the one that has the needs and has they're really in contact with the emotions. If you've not seen The Inside Out, please do it. And then even talk to somebody about that cartoon. Talks about, all the emotions in us, talks about that child. So even the roles that we're in, and look at, no wonder we're exhausted, because you know where the energy comes from? It's from a child. But here, right now, taking care of my parents, I am in a parent role. And okay, there's a nurturing parent, that's good, forget the child here. My mom once in a while when I come and visit her cooks, so there's a child. But you see where I'm going with this? And it's very simple. And even just to say to someone, what happened to a child? What did you neglect? I even asked this, when you were 12, what did you love to do? And 11, 12, 13 is kind of a fun age because we remember ourselves. Tell me about you. Tell me about that little girl or that little boy. How did you look? What did you do? What did you do in your spare time? At that time, you already kind of know yourself. You know what you like. You know what what you dislike. And some people say that maybe you're as free as an adult there that you are at the age of 12 that you are maybe ever going to be. Because that's that child is stronger, but you're aware of your adult. You're aware of, the mom's voice, So it's kind of an interesting. And when I would sometimes even ask that to people, the clients, they will cry. Oh my gosh, when I was 12. That will just be so powerful to them. They never thought of that. So I'm giving you some of the tools, but it's really, okay, what I'm trying here to do is who is the person that sits with a client? That's where I'm going. Who are you when there's that storm? What position do you take there? And Enneagram is, again, tool that could be helpful. I've seen people take Enneagram like horoscope, and seriously, there's every day you get an email from Enneagram Institute and tells you, today, the number 4 should really pay attention to, and I'm seriously, But, so please, these are the tools that can be helpful, and if you can remember that pie chart that Stephen Grego shared, the tools and the skills are 15%. Of everything. So even though, when I was studying counseling, I was so happy when somebody will give me a tool. 15% is going to help you. You can find out all of this. And I think poor clients, when I first started working, I feel that every single day they will come and I'll give them a test. Because I'm thinking I need another information. I need to know more. But what do you do with that information? And also, there is that relationship that is very important. And in that relationship and what you bring, it's so important. So it's kind of, Enneagram, I find it really helpful for couples therapy, for them to realize, oh my gosh. So I don't know how many number of ones we have here. So we have, there you go, reformers. You can sit down and talk and bring some ethical issues that we, stepped over. But so I'm just kind of giving you a little, I'm going to go through all of them just for fun. But okay. And we can kind of know the room. If you didn't do the test, too bad. We are not going to know where you are. But so it is, the fear is being bad, corrupt, and defective. The core traits are principled, disciplined, perfectionist. It is amazing to have a reformer in your nonprofit and to have it as a friend. Thank you, Shusha. The helper. Who is the helper here? Daniela, you see helper? Nisi. Okay. To be loved and needed. Oh, yeah, you're not helper. You are, that is everybody's desire. And you're going to see, I'm sorry, Daniela, that the desires are actually natural desires that we all have. But sometimes, because of the things that we sometimes didn't receive in our childhood, we are shaped into what we are shaped. So, caring, generous, people-pleasing. I bet all the helpers brought the sweets. But we don't have to do it. The achiever. How many achievers do we have here? Okay, to be valuable and successful and being worthless and failing. I'm going to connect, which is kind of fun. And the core traits are driven, image conscious, and adaptable. How many individualists do we have here? Not one single, okay. Few. To be authentic and uniquely themselves, having no identity or significance, that's their fear. And the core traits, sensitive, introspective, expressive. Investigators. Good. Yeah. To be capable and competent, being helpless and overwhelmed, analytical, independent, private. We are very grateful for you guys. The loyalist. I guess a lot of you didn't do the things. That's okay. To be secure and support. It is really an interesting test. It's a fun test. There are different ways you can get tested. So you can answer a zillion questions, so don't forget now doing it. But it is, and it's a helpful tool, again. To be secure and supported is their desire, fear of being without supporting guidance, and core traits are loyal, cautious, and anxious. 7, 8, 9. 8 is the enthusiast. And to be happy and satisfied, that is their desire, the fear of being deprived and trapped in pain. Richard Rohr, and there's a whole institute, and you can find much, much more on this. But spontaneous, fun-loving, distractible. The challenger. How many challengers are here? I'm a challenger. And I married a peacemaker. Oh my gosh, poor guy. I did marry, good for me, bad for him. You know, to be in control and protect themselves, being harmed and controlled by others, strong, assertive, protective. I guess those are good traits. But then the peacemaker, and it's like, seriously, it is my challenge to find who was right, who was wrong, we have to fix it. And Greg is like, for the sake of peace, it's me, it's me, it's me. It's so not the best scenario in a marriage, let me tell you. No, it cannot always be you. Let's just talk about that. Please, it's me, it's okay. To have peace and harmony, conflict and disconnection is really hard for him. Easygoing, agreeable, and confident. Okay, the fun thing is, so I didn't do this, somebody else did, but I do find it, I think the Christians find it really interesting. So now these are some of the characters in the Bible that have similar traits. So it is really, really fun. And of course, I did give you the better option because the other option is whoever is number 8, they gave us Saul and like seriously, I did pick a different comparison so we would not feel that overwhelmed. Former Paul, and you can see passionate about truth, justice, and doing what is right, tempted to self-righteousness and anger. The helper, Martha, of course, eager to serve and care for others, but sometimes neglecting her own needs. And the 3 competence sets them up for pride, driven by life, but restless with boundaries. Achiever, Joseph, gifted, ambitious, successful in everything he did, faced the temptation of finding identity in achievement. So it is, as you can see, it's kind of fun and interesting. And you can do this for the whole family. I mean, it's kind of, a very interesting tool. The reason what I'm doing this, because guys, know yourself. So if you're Martha, the minute somebody tells you how bad is in their marriage or how her mother is sick, you are thinking, maybe I can cook a meal for this person. No, you don't do that if you're their counselor. You don't, if you're a pastor, sure, think how what you can organize to help that family. But in a counseling office, if you want to stay relevant and if you want to stay a counselor in that relationship, you cannot be their best friend. If you do become their best friend, you're not their counselor. You're not objective. So you do have to have a healthy boundary. But what I'm like, also, this is kind of a fun thing to see. What are some of the things that triggers you into? What is their story prompting in you? So do you want to, just remember the first painting? You want to go and throw up because it's horrible what they shared? Are you praying constantly? Or you're thinking, I'm going to keep that boat. And it's not yours to keep. It is theirs. It is really, guys, please know, like some of the best thing that you can know is when to refer what is not your job in your work. And please, I tell this to everyone, know how to protect yourself. Know when things are triggering you. And they're not there. We have a very... I don't know what, like, advisor. In Serbia, we say savjetnik, which is advisor. We don't give an advice. Do you want them to come and give you advice? You should then go into legal practice. And then you can charge for that. No. They have to come to that. We have to empower them, strengthen them. They have to come to social. You know why? They're going to come all the time to us. So, but very often, there's some tendency for us to say, okay, so you have this problem, this problem, this problem. Okay. Well, again, have you thought of this, this, and this, and this, and pray about this? I'm not saying that some of the things that we're going to give them and recommend, it will be an advice, but please try to stay away from, to avoid that. And especially try to know yourself in all of this. We did Joseph, David, the vigilant. I was surprised that they put David there. Deeply emotional, creative, and introspective, seat of Psalms, tempted toward envy. Well, I guess that's an easy one. The investigator, easy to figure it out, not easy to live with. And Thomas, ask hard questions and need evidence, tempted by greed, stinginess, and critical detachment. The loyalist, Peter, deeply loyal to Jesus, but often anxious and reactive under pressure, tempted by grew into a stable, courageous leader after Pentecost, but tempted by fear, self-doubt, and cowardice. The enthusiast, King Solomon, loved experience, wisdom, and beauty, had to learn that true joy isn't abundance, but reverence for God, tempted by gluttony and intemperance. Challenger. I like this option much better than being a King Saul. John the Baptist. Bold, confrontational, unafraid to speak truth to power, tempted by arrogance and desire to possess and control others. And peacemaker Abraham. I love it. You're going to find this. And of course, take everything with, this is not a horoscope. This is not like all the knowledge is right there. We kind of love to play with this. And it is a helpful and quick tool, even though it's a quick. Sometimes somebody really wishes they will cut our heads off. And then lived with conviction and strong sense of mission. The peacemaker, Abraham. Okay, and this is just a family fun joke, I'll tell you later. Peace-seeking and relationally oriented, sometimes passive, but ultimately obedient, trusting God's promises. Tempted by laziness, comfortable illusions, and being overly accommodating. Whoever knows my husband. Well, I have an amazing husband. I do. He's taking care of Hana. He is amazing, and Hana's 20, and that means a lot of things, and I share that with you. So now when I share all of this, you guys have to know I do have an amazing husband. But somebody said that I'm King Saul, and that he is Jonah, like in the character, and he is a peacemaker. He really wants everybody to be. But Jonah sometimes, and if you will come to my house, that is sometimes a fun marriage, that is sometimes an awkward marriage. Because I am the challenger. I want to know what happened. If we have a problem, I want to talk about that. Oh, I don't want to just talk about that. I want to go deep. I want to go into layers. So who did, what did, when did? And then there's a movie, I don't remember the movie, and that is pretty good. I'm not going to do what Jerry Reed does. Oh my gosh, his stories are better than movies. So there's a movie, I don't even know the name, but the young couple is in bed, and they're having an argument. And it's kind of like, what the movie lets you. There's his side. His parents are on his side, and her parents are on the other side. So once in a while, they just kind of jump in that conversation and say something, So I sometimes think my life is kind of like that. And I will be like, oh my gosh, this is just Deanna right now. Right, Greg? Deanna is my mother-in-law. So it's like when Greg says something, I'm like, oh my gosh, I married Deanna. And sometimes I'll say, that is Bob. That's Greg said. But so I want to know all of that, And I want to go into that. I want to control things. And then there's Greg that just wants to stay away from all of it. If there is a boat going in a different direction than Nineveh, that is where I'm going to go. So you can just imagine how dynamic of our marriage. But it's just questions for reflection. This is actually, there's something, here I gave the last name. There's something in me that puts on fig leaves. Oh, we did actually say that one when we were together. But it is really when we kind of try to cover who we really are. So what motivates my actions? Did we talk about this? Because there are some slides that I have double. I wasn't sure. We didn't? Okay, well, I have a question. So please, I want to hear you. There are some activities here. I will totally give you the slides. You can look and you can reflect. And if you're okay, let's not do these activities because I want to hear you. And I want to have time when we can just kind of talk about everything that happened here and wrap this. Are you okay with that? That we are not going to stop? Okay? So it is maybe going to be dry, but we're going to continue talking. So I love this one because before we can surrender ourselves, we must become ourselves, for no one can give up what he or she does not even first possess. So there's nothing wrong in us knowing our character, our narrative, our story. This is who I am. I'm daughter of Roman and Ophelia. I'm messy. There's this Romanian side in me, that it's kind of like wants to bring music even to the funeral. That's what Romanians sometimes do. And then there's the Serbian side of me that wants to tell everybody how we should not behave and what we should do and what we couldn't do. And of course, things that knows it all. And Romanians will sometimes just, enjoy life and laugh. That's how my mom was. So anyways, and feed you. So it's like, there's just, that's who I am. Sorry, Greg, that's what you married. But before we even give that to God, before we even change things, we have to know who we are. And some things we're going to change, some things we're not. But even with forgiveness, I don't know if you notice how quickly we jump into, I'm sorry. What are you sorry about? If you don't own the damage that you've done, you cannot ask for forgiveness. Because you're not really asking for forgiveness. You just want peace. So this is, you see where the challenger and and Jonah get in a problem. He'll just say, oh, I'm so sorry. No. You cannot just say, I'm sorry. You have to tell me. You have to tell me exactly what you did wrong, and did you get it? Poor Greg. But we have to really own it. What I did, and this that I've done, I am so sorry. I should have not acted that way. I should have not. You see what I mean by owning? And I really would encourage you to own who you really are, all the good and bad. And it really helps you. We're not going to, when we go to heaven, that's the perfect option of us. Here, we got to be messy. So can you just recognize that? Because it's so important. If you want to work with the others, if you are not aware what you're bringing, it is going to be mashed. It is going to be messy. If you cannot, you're going to be triggered to jump, to help, to do. You're going to want to throw up. What I was just telling, we're going to hear the stories that are going to make you sick. If you want to open that door, I think it's very honorable and amazing if you want to help a human being. But sometimes it is very, very overwhelming and exhausting. If you don't know how is that personally affecting you, it's going to affect your family. It is going to affect you. It's going to affect your family. It's going to affect the dynamic of your life. It is going to affect everything. And please know. Please, I don't think we are aware. It is if you really want to get to know someone, really know who you are first. Oh, this is David Benner. And I love this quote. Every time I dare to meet God in the vulnerability of my sin and shame, this knowing and strengthening. Oh, forget it. Every time I fall back into self-improvement mode and try to bring God, my best self, it is weakened. I only know divine, unconditional, radical, and reckless love for me when I dare to approach God just as I am. And the reason, yes, there's knowing ourselves, and then there is knowing God that can actually bring the healing in. And don't get me wrong, can the non-believers do a good job in counseling? I honestly think they can. I really think that caring human being that is open to hear your story can really bring help and can heal. But what I kind of compare this is, you know how when Moses came and did all the miracles in front of the pharaohs, some miracles even the Pharaoh's magicians could repeat. But there were some miracles that they couldn't. So if you decide to come into counseling, so I think if you're going to counseling alone, completely unaware who you are, then a non-Christian counselor that doesn't know Jesus but is aware of who he is can actually do less damage. But if you're aware who you are and you're aware who your God is, there are a ton of miracles that non-Christian good counselor cannot do, and you can. And please use all of that. There's just a moment. We have an amazing God that chooses to dwell in us, to make the temple in us, and you can bring that. You can bring that to conversation, and that the world cannot mimic and copy. Please use it. So yes, skills are important, but what you bring, who you bring, it is so powerful and so important. And I love this picture from Self to God. Really, I love the picture of the prodigal son that comes. And it's there's something in that story that, okay, there are pastors here. You know, like the fathers, if we say that somebody to receive Christ, and the Bible is saying that that person needs to ask for forgiveness. I mean, this man has not even opened his mouth, and his father is running. His father is waiting for him, and he's running to greet him. This man has not even said, I've sinned. So it's just love, that reckless, deep love that he has for us. If we would be witnessing what happened on a cross, many of us will probably vomit from the horrible seeing what his son went on a cross for every one of us. That's how loved we are. That's how much he loved us. And it's so important to know that. Because it's so easy. Because when they come with their messy stories, it's so easy to think, well, my kids, thank God, are not like her kids. I'm like, oh, and my marriage is better than. Or you cannot help anybody from this perspective. You can do more damage than help. So it is so important, who do we bring to the table, and who to be aware of that, and who we bring into counseling. We are deeply sinful. Whatever I think, I'm so grateful that I certainly didn't write a book before all the mess in my life, because I will totally be one of those authors. This is how you raise your children. So my children are such a mess that when they asked me to speak on that, I told Greg Pritchard the topic is how to ruin your children. And then he says, Jelena, I don't think anybody's going to come to that. Let's just put how not to ruin your children. So the topic is how not to ruin your children, but I pretty much talk how I ruin my children. You know, and I seriously, this is what I just did. That's where I was on a family and marriage. And I said, it's by God's grace that they are alive and that they love God. It is God's grace. I mean, I think I did a better job than my parents. But you know what? I bet my parents did a better job than their parents. So it's really, we're deeply sinful. And there's a scene in my life that really, I think, finally put me in the right perspective as a counselor, and especially somebody who will do counseling with people that are Christians. Hana was 3 years old, so she has autism. So she was screaming before that, but we thought she's a baby, she's a toddler, she's, terrible twos or whatever. And now I realize, oh my gosh, this is how my life is gonna be. So I'm driving in a car, and I'm thinking, and she's crying, and she's like the worst, not always, but sometimes the worst passengers, the passenger in your car you can have. She hates traffic, and she hates when we have to wait. So it was even the red light. I'm thinking, where can I go when there is no light, and constructions on the road, or any waiting. We just have to be moving. So, that's how I feel. She's the worst of me and the best of me, but, you don't want to be in my car when I'm complaining about every other driver around. But I'm driving and I'm thinking, it's just, the news is really heavy, and really I thought we lost that picture of a lovely, perfect family. We were never perfect, but I thought we were. And I'm thinking, if I just drive faster, if we hit the tree, this is totally went through my mind. And I just end this. Greg is young enough, he certainly needs to remarry and somebody to help him, because he is never gonna find his keys, his wallet, or anything. But I'm just thinking, in that moment, if Hannah's just gone, it would be better for Sara. And I'm like, my gosh, what are you thinking? So there is a moment in my head that I thought that it would be better if I would have ended that. If I would end her life. So if there is a murderer in me, and the worst case murderer that wants to kill a child, whenever somebody comes to me in a counseling office, they cannot be worse than I am. And that is actually a perspective we are sinners. We are messy. We needed Jesus to die on a cross for us. For our sins, for our messiness, for our chaos. So please, the person that sits across from you, of course is a sinner. Of course has done stupid things in their life. Let's just, oh my gosh, it is so easy to judge. And please don't go. If that is the path that you have a tendency to go, maybe really this is not the calling you should take. And I know this sounds maybe very, very harsh, but really this simple thing, we are deeply sinful, we are deeply loved, and we are in a process of redemption and restoration. We are still work in progress. So really be aware of who you are. The soul longing are not met through performance and avoidance, but in the gospel of grace and truth. We are already accepted, secure, and known and loved in Christ. Okay, we're gonna read this, and again, because I really wanna hear you, and I wanna stop earlier, but a very simple case study. So, and I'm gonna read it, and I really would love you to, I'm gonna have, on the second page are some questions, and I will give you time to discuss. You're not gonna have time to discuss. You can just think, and actually there's something else I wanna say. Okay, let's just go quickly here. Of course, this is not really his name. Daniel, 16, raised in a Christian home. Parents are actively involved in church. Regular church attendance, including youth group. There's some changes that I made, but this is a client. Daniel recently approached a Christian counselor feeling overwhelmed by internal conflict. He shared that he has been experiencing a deep, emotionally and possibly romantic feeling for his close male friend. He expressed confusion and distress about what these feelings mean for his identity and his faith in his place in his church community. He has not shared this with anyone else. Daniel fears that if his parents find out, they will be disappointed or angry. He also feels judged by his youth pastor and church members, recalling how a young woman in his church was shamed when she opened up about a similar struggle. Daniel described feeling increasing distance from his faith. He questioned the God he grew up with. Why would a loving God create me this way, only to hate me for it? He's considering leaving his current church or faith altogether and attending a more affirming church, or perhaps leaving Christianity completely. Some of the questions. As a Christian counselor, how would you respond to Daniel's emotional distress and fear of rejection? Would you refer Daniel to someone else? Would you help Daniel explore the roots and meaning of his feelings? How do you address Daniel's theological confusion and pain? Do you address it? What kind of church culture does Daniel need right now to flourish emotionally and spiritually? Just in your head, explore what are some of the things where you are kind of going towards. Are you glad that he came to you? Are you terrified that he came to you? Do you want to be one of those that is throwing up over the boat? Are you praying? Are you trying to quickly correct him? Are you really grateful that he came so finally you can put him on the right path, give him the right scripture? Or you're thinking, oh, I don't want to deal with this. He should totally go and see a counselor. There's a study that has been done in the United States on how the people with mental health issues deal and how often do they go to a parishioner or somebody in a church. And the study does show that between 30 and 40, like 33% will rather come to a pastor and a counselor in a church than to a psychologist. So they're going to come to you. Daniels are going to come to you. And honestly, I don't care about your answer. I really wanted you to reflect what this triggered in you. Which directions were you going? You totally have you're maybe not aware, but you do have a theology of suffering. Where is God in all of that? You be aware of it. You totally have your opinion on gender issues, where you stand. I mean, where you are going with this, it really shows where your faith is, what do you believe, where do you believe the role of church is, what do you believe the role of counselor is. It's all of that. So honestly, the reason I wanted you just to really explore, where do you stand? What do you bring to the table? How do you answer the parents? What if I would come to counseling and say, why is not God answering my prayer when I want him to heal Hana? Are you going to be Job's friends? Are you going to be Job? Are you going to just say, I don't know? It is totally okay not to know, and it's totally okay to sit in silence. It is totally okay to sit in silence. Sitting in silence is not doing nothing. I had a friend that I visited in northern India, and don't even ask me how I ended up there. Friend that oversees clinical psychologists, a Christian. You don't have to know her name, but just pray for this amazing woman. Oversees 16 hospitals and work with kids with special needs and supporting the parents, and she has to hide her faith in all of that. And I'm like, I was there for 2 days. I didn't have a clue. And I said, oh, I'm going to Delhi. I can come and visit you. Like this. I come from Serbia. Seriously, you can visit everybody in Serbia when you come to Serbia. So I'm like, I'm coming to India. I can come and visit you. She's like, I would love that. And she was so happy. And when she told me that I should really wait for all day and all night and get a train, get a plane because the train will take too long and it's really not safe. And then get in a car for 2 hours. And I mean, seriously. And then I didn't want to say no. And I'm like, okay, I'm going. But what that did, she never, seriously, I'm leaving and I'm like, gosh, I always wanted to be tall and blonde. Over there, I really felt I'm tall and blonde. She's like this. And she said, thank you. I've not done anything. She says, I've been here for 25 years serving. My sister came to visit me once. Nobody came. You came. Thank you. If you choose to be there in pain and suffering, that is huge. If you choose to sit with them with their pain, that is unbelievable. It is really. So my question is, how is who I am, who you are, shaping my counseling? My question to every one of you. Where you portrayed yourself in this boat, who you are right here, it really very powerfully affects how you're going to counsel and how you're going to approach your client. Now, let me tell you, you know the ending of the story. They wake him up. He's kind of like, really? He talks about two fear. There was a fear of storm that they had, and then they were frightened when he did something so powerful. He scolded the wind and the sea like a naughty child. Stop behaving like this. That is our God. Do you know who you have in your boat? Do we know who can come and wants to come to us to heal the broken human being? He wants to heal you, and he wants you with the comfort that he's comforting you to comfort others. The world cannot copy that miracle. The world can do a lot of things, but the world cannot come close to that.